Hello and welcome back to Random Vids. So last week I did a video talking about one of my subscribers' least favorite SpongeBob episodes, aka Connor Brown. So yet again we're going to be doing another video, but this time I'm going to be talking about his favorite episodes, the ones that he considers his favorites from all the SpongeBob seasons. Once again, shout out to Connor Brown. I'm going to be linking his channel down in the description if any of y'all are curious, and let's get started on his favorite SpongeBob episodes. So we're gonna move right into season 1, and that episode is SB 129. Although this episode definitely ain't my pick for my favorite from season 1, you gotta admit it is a good one. So the episode starts off as an episode normally would, where SpongeBob and Patrick are annoying Squidward. So Squidward goes to the Krusty Krab, and he locks himself inside the freezer for 2,000 years. And then Squidward is in the future, where everything is chrome. And we get these SpongeBob robots and Patrick robot thingies, or I don't know, whatever you want to call them. So these SpongeBobs help Squidward out to a time machine, which takes him back in time to the prehistoric age. And once there, we get to see a prehistoric SpongeBob and a prehistoric Patrick. Squidward tries to run away from them because he plays the clarinet and it's too noisy and he does it bad. Unfortunately, he breaks the time machine and now he's sent to the future, where it's just a random space. Just a random white space. And, okay, Squidward finally gets to be alone, but then finally breaks down and says he needs to get out of here. And then he's lost because he's in, like, the future. I don't even know what you want to call it. He does eventually somehow find the time machine, and I guess the time machine has ears, because apparently it hears Squidward say, "I miss SpongeBob," and it takes him back to the Bikini Bottom. Okay, interesting. As a kid, this episode wasn't really my favorite, just because I found it very confusing and boring. It's another just dumb It's just another one of those dumb, time travel episodes. But as I've grown, it's definitely gotten better. And while I do think episodes like Jellyfish Jam and Pizza Delivery are much better episodes, this episode is a good one. It's a better one for season 1. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10, maybe 7. We'll just say 7.5 out of 10 then. Now let's move on to Season 2, which is Band Geeks. I mean, it's no surprise this one was going to be number 1 from Season 2. So Band Geeks. This is considered, from many, the best SpongeBob episode of all time. And I mean, even though I do really consider it extremely overrated and the Waluigi pinball, but SpongeBob style, I gotta admit, it is actually a pretty good episode. So this is the first episode we meet Squilliam Fancyson, and he challenges Squidward to a, I guess, band challenge? I don't know. So Squidward gets everyone from Bikini Bottom to play in a band, and of course, surprise, surprise, they all do really bad. And they all end up fighting, and Squidward just gives up. But SpongeBob says, "What have we become?" And he ends up training everyone to be a good band for Squidward. You know, that annoying sea sponge from next door to Squidward who has some annoying episodes? Now he's actually trying to help Squidward? What? Oh, okay. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the song that they do end up playing at the end is extremely overrated and honestly one of the more weaker SpongeBob songs. But, I mean, it's Sweet Victory. And the episode ends pretty good. I mean, like I said, I find it a very overrated episode, especially the Sweet Victory song at the end. But, I mean, it's a good episode, I think, overall. Although I like some of the more underrated ones, like Krusty Love, for an example, Band Geeks is a really good one. I'd give it probably about a 9 out of 10. It's just that good, honestly. And the jokes are good, too, like the Patrick saying, "Is mayonnaise an instrument?" and the "kicking, I want to do kicking" thing. There's just a lot of jokes in this episode, and it's a good one. Now let's move on to Season 3, which is Chocolate with Nuts. Another fairly overrated episode in my opinion. Honestly, Season 3 as a whole is a very overrated season. A lot of people consider it their favorite season of all time, which I can completely disagree, honestly. It's an alright season, I do like it, but I mean, it's extremely overrated. But, okay, Chocolate with Nuts, yet again, like I said, overrated episode. But, let's see. SpongeBob and Patrick are selling chocolates. And that's it. But I mean, the things they do while they're selling the chocolates are funny. Like, for example, the chocolate guy who screams, "Chocolate!" And the guy that Patrick Grimley says, "I love you, too." The only annoying thing about this episode was the con man. That dude, ugh. I hate episodes that make it feel like they're further away from their goal. Like, come on, what kind of episode is that? And SpongeBob and Patrick just giving away money, which is odd because they wanted to make money in the first place. It's just really just, I don't know. I didn't like that con man at all. And he not only tricked SpongeBob and Patrick once, but 3 freaking times throughout the whole episode. Good lord, you think the joke is old? Yeah, I did not like the con man at all. If you take out the con man, Chocolate with Nuts is a really good episode. But I just really hate the episodes that pushes things away from their goal. I don't find anything funny about that whatsoever, but apparently SpongeBob people do, so whatever. I consider this episode a good, probably 7 out of 10, maybe 6. I think I'll stick with a 7 out of 10. It's a good one, but I mean, there's things about it that annoy me. I guess we should move on to Season 4, which is Krusty Towers. Season 4 ain't quite my favorite season, but at least we got a few really good ones in here, and Krusty Towers is one of them. Krusty Towers is just one of those episodes that could easily be confused with one of the original SpongeBob's and no one would ever blink an eye. It's just that good. Basically, Mr. Krabs turns the Krusty Krab into a hotel, and of course, SpongeBob and Patrick are the employees. And Squidward gets a little grumpy while Mr. Krabs is making him do a bunch of unnecessary things. And of course, guess who the only person who stays there is? Patrick! Unlike other episodes where it'd get annoying, like Good Neighbors or Cephalopod Lodge, this episode, it works. And although you could consider the first half of this episode Squidward torture, I personally don't. It's as harmless as the Crane episode from the same season. Even if Squidward gets tortured, it ain't bad enough for me to ever notice, and I just go along with it, and I love it. Also the fact that Squidward finally quits, and when he does, he gives Krabs a taste of his own medicine. Like, he stands up for Mr. Krabs, which is a very fun thing to see. Seeing him pay back Mr. Krabs, and even SpongeBob at times, with funny, goofy things, like making him eat a Krusty Krab, or a Krabby Patty full of toenails, or building a big swimming pool inside of his hotel room. And man, I'm glad that they chose this route, because this, unfortunately, we don't see this a lot in Squidward episodes. The same frickin' season, we had one of the worst episodes of all times, Good Neighbors. But no, this episode still shows that, the writers have good writing, and man, it turned out to be one heck of a good episode. Plus, the Krusty Krab just looks really nice as a hotel. So, I'd give this episode probably about an 8 out of 10. It's a very good one for sure. Now, let's move on to Season 5, which is Roller Cowards. Man, another good Season 5 episode. So, there's a new roller coaster in Glove World, and SpongeBob and Patrick want to ride it. However, at the same time, they're both scared, but they don't want to tell each other. So they try to go on a bunch of other rides, like the Mitten, for example, this little coaster with a tiny little hill, and they still are scared, which is the most funniest thing ever. But then they do end up admitting to each other that they're both scared of the ride, but they end up riding anyway, which is a nice thing. Overall, it's just a simple, fun Glove World episode. I love a lot of the Glove World episodes, even ones like Glove World R.I.P. from Season 8. Just seeing them ride rides at Glove World, it's just so much fun to see. I love the new one from season 12 too. I forget the name of it, but it is such a good one. And Roller Cowards, I mean, it's a good one coming from a pretty meh season. There's nothing else I really have to say about this episode. It's a really good one, and I can see why it's loved. And it's probably my second favorite from season 5, honestly. And I'd give it probably about an 8 out of 10. It's a good one. Now let's move on to season 6, which is Sand Castles in the Sand. Oh boy, the dreaded season 6. The absolute worst SpongeBob season, in my opinion. Happens to have at least one good episode that everyone seems to like. And that's Sandcastles in the Sand. It's simple. SpongeBob and Patrick build sandcastles, and they see who can build the best sandcastle, I guess? And that's basically the whole episode. It's a simple story, but I mean, it's loved by many. But do I love it? Honestly, not gonna lie, I find it one of the more weaker episodes of Season 6. One of the more below-average episodes. Mainly just because I can't stand Patrick in this episode. It's one thing like Snowball Effect from Season 3, where Patrick was still original SpongeBob-ified, if you want to call it that, before he turned mean, and it looked like they were actually having a fairly good time. Here, Patrick is just such a jerk. He is technically the one who started the sandcastle fight, and he keeps making things bigger and bigger. I don't understand why. And while I do admit some scenes with the sandcastle fighting is interesting, I just don't like Patrick at all in this episode, and he completely ruins what could have been an amazing episode. Remember back in Season 5 where we got Battle for Bikini Bottom? That episode was actually funny. Patrick wasn't too annoying in it, and it was actually just goofy all around. This one, I feel like they tried to rehash that, and it just was a lot worse in my opinion. Plus the whole beginning scene with Patrick ripping up his skin and the slow bus ride to the beach just really was a big thing of sandbagging, and it was just, ugh. I know many people do like this episode, and they can consider it one of, if not the best episode from Season 6. I'm sorry, but it's just not for me at all. Patrick is annoying, and the whole sandcastle fighting is just so boring. I'd rather see Snowball Effect from Season 3, or Battle for Bikini Bottom in Season 5. Both episodes where I don't hate Patrick in, and they're not sandbagging, thank God. Because man, there was a lot of filler in this episode. This episode is like a 3 out of 10 in my opinion. I'm sorry, it's just not for me. I'm glad you can enjoy it, I'm glad a lot of people do like this episode, but like I said, I'm sorry, it's just not for me. Let's move on to Season 7, which is Enchanted Tiki Dreams. Oh boy, what's worse than Season 6? Season 7. Although I do think Season 7 is a little better than Season 6, but not by much. But like Season 6, we do have a few actually not bad episodes, and in fact good episodes. Like Enchanted Tiki Dreams, for an example. And I mean, it is one heck of a good episode. It almost kind of feels like Krusty Towers, just a little broken, but still good. Basically, the day starts out with another one of those SpongeBob and Patrick being annoying to Squidward things. However, unlike literally every other time, they actually feel bad for making Squidward miserable, which, I mean, man, it took them this long. So they built Squidward this, I guess, enchanted tiki world, and I mean, he seems like he's really enjoying himself, and I like how SpongeBob and Patrick are there, but they're not being annoying. They're actually helping. And you gotta love the catchy Enchanted Tiki Dreams song. It's a really good one. Like, the mid-season SpongeBob's actually had fairly good music. Not all of them, but for the most part, they were pretty good. They were extremely underrated. A lot of the modern ones, too. Like, I don't understand why songs like The Striped Sweater is so interesting, when Enchanted Tiki Dreams, I think, is done miles better. Song-wise. And I think episode-wise even, too. Although, his dream did end when the thing got burned down, thanks to SpongeBob and Patrick yet again. But, I mean, at least he had a moment of happiness, and the episode ends with him hurting SpongeBob and Patrick. Okay. I take Squidward being happy over it ending like something like Good Neighbors did, or Cephalopod Lodge, or Choir Boys. At least he's happy in this episode. And that's all that matters, right? Yet again, this episode ain't quite my favorite episode, but it's definitely a better one from Season 7. I'd consider it probably a 7 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10. I don't know, maybe 7.5 I'd give it. Now let's move on to Season 8, which is It's a SpongeBob Christmas. Okay, remember how I said how the mid-seasons had pretty good music? Well, forget everything I just said when it comes to this episode, because honestly, the music ain't really the best in this episode. It's just, it's too happy-go-lucky and just doesn't roll the same like Christmas Who did in Season 2. But I mean, hey, at least we got another SpongeBob Christmas episode, but why is it this art style? Did they run out of ideas for new art styles and they came up with this? Why can't we just see the normal, I don't know. Honestly, it's one of these episodes I kind of forget. And, I mean, it is a special and all, but I don't know. It just ain't my favorite from Season 8, I'm sorry. Like, for Season 8, it's alright, but it's nothing compared to Christmas Who from Season 2. So, honestly, this episode is more of a 5 out of 10 out of me, maybe 4 out of 10, actually. It's just, I don't know. I don't really have any words for this one. I don't know why they chose this animation. Why did we get this animation? Can't we just have the 2D ones? We had the same problem in Season 11 with the Halloween episode, too. Oh, well, it is what it is. And, yeah, this one's more of a more mid-Season 8 episode. But I'm glad you can enjoy it. It's a SpongeBob Christmas. Ain't quite for me, but like I said, I'm glad you enjoy it. Now let's move on to Season 9, which is Patrick the Game. Oh boy, another board game type episode. Remember the last time we had that in Season 6? Yeah, that episode wasn't really that good, with Squidward, SpongeBob, and Patrick playing board games when it's raining out. That episode wasn't that good. Also the fact that it was in Season 6. Season 9, on the other hand, has done a much better job with its episodes. We no longer have a lot of those filler episodes. I mean, that's not to say we still do have them, but we don't have them as much. And the episodes are getting really good again. Patrick the Game... Basically, Patrick wants to create a game, so he creates Patrick the Game, literally. And so, Squidward, SpongeBob, and Sandy end up coming over to play this game. All the meantime, Patrick is randomly making up rules as the game goes on. And, of course, it annoys Squidward. It's kind of cool seeing the main cast of people just playing board games. It kind of reminds me of Arg from Season 1. Except, unlike Arg, Arg was one of my favorite episodes. Patrick the Game, not so sure. Don't get me wrong, it's a very creative episode, and it's nice seeing Squidward actually participate in a lot of these games that Patrick comes up with, even the dimwit ones. When the episode becomes bad, I think that's when they move outside, and Squidward ends up going to jail? What? I will never understand why episodes will randomly put characters like Squidward and Mrs. Puff in jail for doing tiny little things or nothing at all, but then they won't arrest Patrick or Mr. Krabs. If they do, it's a rare chance, or SpongeBob will be too sad and take Patrick's place. Why? Why does Squidward randomly go to jail? That part alone destroys this episode. I guess if they would have completely cut the jail scene, this episode wouldn't be that bad. Although the Squidward torture does get a little annoying, but I mean, technically Squidward can leave whenever he wants. He's not held hostage or anything, but he chooses to stay, so I guess that does sort of I don't know. I always go back and forth on this episode. Sometimes I really love this episode, other times I can't stand it. So because of that, it's a 5 out of 10. It's right in the middle because I don't know whether I like it or hate it. It's both. So yeah, Patrick the Game. It's an interesting Season 9 episode. Now let's move on to Season 10, which is Mimic Madness. Band Geeks is everyone's favorite from the original era. Sandcastles in the Sand is everyone's favorite from the mid-era. And Mimic Madness is everyone's favorite from the modern era. And man, Mimic Madness just had to land in my favorite season of all time. Episodes like The Incredible Shrinking Sponge, Krusty Catering, and, of course, Mimic Madness. Basically, SpongeBob likes mimicking everyone in Bikini Bottom, and it's really fun to see SpongeBob do it, and Tom Kenny does a really good job of these voices as well. Plus, it's funny seeing SpongeBob just look like Mr. Krabs or Squidward or whoever, and it's just really funny to see. However, SpongeBob takes it a little too far, and then he forgets who he is. So SpongeBob runs away. And then SpongeBob sings a really catchy song, Who Am I?, which is, like I said, a catchy song. And it's one heck of a lot better than Sweet Victory, in my opinion, because it's actually, catchy and not quite as overrated. Well, I mean, it sort of is, but I mean, I can understand why. And it's nice seeing all of his friends, even Plankton, go and try to help him out to help him remember who he is. Wow, okay, they're all trying to help him out, which is nice to see. And it's better than Who Bob What Pants or Gone, where they just completely think SpongeBob is this big nobody and they forget about him or they hate him. This episode shows that they care for him. And man, this episode is a very good episode. I also love the ending, how everyone is just a SpongeBob now. It's just a good ending to such a good episode. Although this season does have my favorite episode of all time, Krusty Catering, Mimic Madness is up there as one of my favorites as well. It's an easy 9 out of 10, almost 9.5 out of 10 actually. It's a good one. Now I guess we'll move on to Season 11, which is The String. Not my favorite from Season 11. It is a short, it is a short after all, and it's the last episode from Season 11. But I mean, there's some really good things about it, like the way how SpongeBob's obsessed with this string and he constantly wants to pull it, and the way that the string just keeps going on and on and on. And between the scene where SpongeBob makes Mr. Krabs' dollar bill become only a dollar bill, and I love the scene where he always keeps getting Squidward's shirt. It's just so funny and goofy. It's a good Season 11 episode. I just find it not quite my favorite, just because it is a short, and the ending is a little odd as well, but oh well. I guess Season 11 wanted to end odd, so okay. But yeah, The String is definitely a pretty good episode. I'd give it about a 7 out of 10. It's a good one. It's a good, not classic, but a good modern episode. So now one more season left, and let's go on to Season 12, which is The Goofy Newbie. Okay, so Patrick loves ice cream. I think we all knew that though. And now Patrick wants to work at the Goofy Goober because he's told if he works there he can have as much ice cream as he wants, but only when he's on break. So of course Patrick gets a job and does a lot of things very odd and kind of wrong, but okay. At least the manager notices though and gets mad at Patrick. But Patrick doesn't really know how to, work in a job, so he gets help from SpongeBob, who is nice enough to help Patrick out. And Patrick does eventually get his first break, but then he eats, all the ice cream. Honestly, yet again, I've only seen this episode 3 times, but I kind of forget how it ended. I don't know, I just feel like it's another one of those dumb, modern Patrick episodes. Ones like this, or Patrick's Coupon, or Patnocchio, stuff like that. They just don't make good Patrick episodes anymore. Not all of them are bad, but I mean, come on. Compare this to something like, the one from Season 2 that I always forget the name of, Big Pink Loser, and I just like that episode so much better. This one is okay, it is cool seeing Patrick working at the Goofy Goober, but for a Season 12 episode, it's not one of my favorites. At least Patrick's sort of trying, but like I said, they're trying too hard with Patrick. I know they're trying to make him a likable character again, but if they want to do that, they're going to have to do their homework and watch every episode from Season 1 all the way to the end of Season 3. Then they can consider who the funny Patrick is. I don't know, Patrick just seemed more annoying in this episode than funny. Not quite as bad as Sandcastles in the Sand. That episode I just hated Patrick in, but this one, I don't know, it's just, another episode. I'd give this one a like a 4, maybe 4.5 out of 10. It's just okay. And wow, we've already went through all seasons except for 13, which ain't out yet. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you probably next week. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. Goodbye.